welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about Alberti Bass. A lot of people struggle with Alberti Bass because of the accumulated tension that happens when you play it. And I want to talk a little bit about some things you can do to alleviate some of that tension. I want to talk first of all about what physical motions Alberti Bass uses. It uses basically a combination of three things. First of all, you're going to use rotation as you go left, right, middle, right. That's Alberti Bass pattern. We throw our hand left, right, middle, right. So we use some rotation. The second physical motion it's going to use is each finger is going to drop to the bottom of the key from this knuckle right here. So the fingers are also going to be active. And then the third physical motion, when you're playing fast Alberti Bass, like something like that, is you're going to be dropping your weight to the bottom of the key using your forearm, letting your forearm drop. Your wrist will drop a little bit. And you're lifting your weight out of the key for the rest of the pattern. That's what's tricky about Alberti Bass, is coordinating those three physical gestures: the rotation, the up down of the forearm, and the motion of each individual finger. And usually when people experience tension, it's because they're doing too much of one of those kinds of motion and not enough of the other two kinds. When you practice Alberti Bass, try to keep your hand relatively still. Notice that I'm not doing giant motions. Notice that my elbow is not involved at all. I'm not doing this kind of thing. I'm also not lifting my fingers super high off the key. So try to keep your arm still. I want to show you an Alberti Bass passage from Mozart Sonata K 333, which starts off like this, etc. The part we're going to look at is in the development, and it has fast Alberti Bass passage work in the left hand. Etc. What happens when people have a long passage like that is it's easy to get tired. It's easy to feel fatigued at the end of that passage. One way of practicing that is play one of these little units at a time and then practice relaxing in between them. So instead of going, what we're going to do is play this, relax, relax. And as a matter of fact, I like to come off the keys into what I call puppy paws, because your paws are going to look, your hands are going to look a little bit like the way a puppy paw looks. And so you're going to play this, you're going to drop on the first note and release. Drop with the forearm, that's one of those motions I talked about. Relax, relax, relax. And practice that in all of these. Because what we want to do when we have a long passage of Alberti Bass is we want to come back to a feeling of relaxation in between each of the patterns. Unfortunately, the pattern isn't. Pattern is. But it has to feel like we're resetting for each one. And that's how you keep from accumulating tension, because you're starting each one from the same place of relaxation. That means that you're going to relax with your thumb after the last note, kind of shake it out, make sure your shoulders are loose, your elbows loose, your hand is loose, and that you have no tension in your palm, and then do it again. Make sure that it's even, make sure you hear all the notes. You want to avoid going, you don't want to drive to the bottom of the keys on 1 and 3, because we want to have the feeling of being in the bottom of the key on the 5th finger, and then 1 and 3 are on the surface of the keys. So I'm lifting out with my wrist. And as I lift out with the wrist, the hand is really relaxed, the fingers are relaxed, and then I'm resetting. Then after you feel comfortable doing one at a time and knowing that you're going all the way back to a completely relaxed state between, then do 2 in a row. Another thing that can be helpful is to think that the last note of the group of 4 is not actually literally legato to the fifth finger, to the first note of the next group. So you're not going to go. Do you hear how I'm really playing that legato? I'm going to go. It's like I'm throwing my weight at the fifth finger each time. So practicing in this way, where you're really coming off the keys and resetting each time, is going to help you with the Alberti Bass. Another way that can be really helpful is to practice silently on the keys, where you play. And what I'm doing is I'm dropping in on 5, but then 1 and 3, I'm just ghosting. I'm playing on the surface of the key without playing out loud. And that really helps with the feeling of playing shallowly on 1 and 3. One of the big mistakes I see people making with Alberti Bass is playing too loud on every note, as I mentioned, like that. You can hear that none of the notes are differentiated from one another, but what I want to hear, okay? The second thing that a lot of people do with Alberti Bass that gets them in trouble is their thumb is tight. And so you grip with the thumb. When you're doing this, practice playing the thumb totally on the surface of the key and totally relaxed. Playing the thumb with a little bit of rotation and having firmness in the tip of it. Play on this part of the thumb, right on the nail, right there, etc. It's important to feel the pattern as one group at a time. In other words, don't feel it as one note times 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, but feel it 1. Okay, so like when I'm doing this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, I'm feeling each Alberti Bass pattern as one unit. Another thing to watch out for is keeping your fingers close to the keys as you play. Don't lift them high like this, because this is very, very fast, and we want to basically like keep our fingers touching the keys at all times, pretty much. My fingers are staying in contact with the keys as I play. I'm not going. That makes a lot of extra effort, and it makes it very difficult to control. So practice keeping your fingers close to the keys, and watch if you play like fifth finger that your thumb doesn't come off the key. Try to keep it relaxed and touching the key, and then same thing with your thumb. Make sure your fifth finger doesn't lift up as you play. So look for those things. A kind of a checklist of things to look for are gripping with your thumb. Try to keep that loose, making sure that your shoulders are not getting higher and higher as you play. That's a common thing as you play, and having that shoulder come up, right? So you want to keep the shoulder down, making sure that the forearm stays loose. And when the forearm gets tight, that's usually a sign of a tight thumb. That's something to watch out for. And then make sure you're always listening. Don't let yourself play all the notes equally. It's easy when you get working on something that's technically challenging to kind of drive your fingers to the bottom and play forcefully on every note and like be like, but that's counterproductive, because the thing you want to cultivate is dropping and releasing as you play. And so listen to make sure you're not hearing all the notes amusically, that you're hearing the beat pattern, that you're hearing the notes in musical groupings. So those are a few tips on how to practice Alberti Bass in fast passage work. Another thing that people find challenging is playing octaves, and it relies on a lot of the same kinds of principles of releasing in between each octave. I made a video on how to play octaves more efficiently and with more speed. You can watch that by clicking right up there in the corner. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please do share it with someone else. Like the video and subscribe to my channel, because that helps me reach more people. I'll see you in the next video. Good luck with your Alberti Bass, and happy practicing!